Welcome to myfinanceteacher.org. Let's have a look today at energy, more specifically natural gas. But as the members at myfinanceteacher.org know, using this divergence, we did take a relatively modest profit over here in late March in a temporary bounce in natural gas. And after that, I was actually expecting natural gas to go a little bit lower to give us kind of a really recognizable cycle low. Unfortunately, natural gas turned out to be a little bit tricky to. Generally, the cycles last, as you see over here, if you zoom out a little bit, on average, the cycles last for around 4.5 months. Actually, the average duration since 2016 is 135 days. But the previous couple of cycles were kind of short. The one in late 2020 only lasted for 98 days, and the previous cycle only lasted for 99 days. So based on the usual duration, I was waiting for a significant low, and I was hoping to ride that rally up, which of course I didn't. And besides that, I don't really have much time to keep track of all of the charts all the time. So as we see now, natural gas is in a new cycle that started over here on the 6th of April. And the current cycle right now is 50 days old. What do I think of this cycle and what I think is going to happen to the price over the next, say, few days and a few weeks? Well, I don't want to jump in right now because the cycle is, well, far from being very young. We are approaching possibly the midpoint of the cycle, and I think over the next few days, the natural gas price will finally reach the peak of this ongoing cycle. So what I think is likely to happen over the next few days is that price will poke again above these Bollinger Bands. Perhaps the price will give us slightly new high versus the recent high in mid-May. Perhaps RSI will give us a negative divergence with a lower low on RSI and a higher low on price. And the negative divergence often, although not always, indicates a trend change, a trend changing from the rally since early April into the declining phase, into the end of this ongoing cycle. So in the very short term, I think natural gas is a little bit bullish, but it's quite risky right now. I don't want to enter. So as the members at myfinanceteacher.org know, I'm not holding any positions in natural gas right now. I would actually be much more happy to buy natural gas somewhere around 2.7, 2.8. If you turn on this 200-day moving average, you'll see that that's the price range where both of these 50-day and 200-day moving averages are right now. Now, moving on to the weekly chart, you'll see that this decline, perhaps over the next few weeks, plays out very well into a possible interesting pattern on the weekly chart. So on the weekly chart, what you might see over here is some sort of a triangle formation that's more or less symmetrical triangle. Usually a symmetrical triangle is a continuation of the trend that was in place before that symmetrical triangle. We see the trend upwards in natural gas prices before this triangle. So I think a continuation is possibly likely, but the continuation is possibly not going to start tomorrow. As I've mentioned, perhaps over the next few days, natural gas continues a little bit higher, maybe pokes above those daily Bollinger Bands, hits this downtrend line on the triangle again, and a decline into the cycle low might actually coincide with testing this lower range of the triangle again over the next few weeks. And that's when I think a nice buying opportunity will come up with a possible rally, with a possible break to the upside from this symmetrical triangle. And a measured target move for this rally would be the height of this triangle from the breakout zone. So let's say the breakout zone is going to be somewhere around over here. Let's say somewhere around $3. The height of the triangle is somewhere around $1. So within the next cycle, I think there could be a good chance for natural gas to test the price levels near $4. And this possible rally into, that's actually autumn, might actually turn out to match well with seasonality charts. Again, I don't usually pay too much attention at seasonality, but as you see, June is not usually a great month for natural gas. On average, the gains are still positive, but I think it's below 1% gains on average in June. And July, which will actually coincide with our timing for the cycle low, or for at least with a decline towards that cycle low, is usually on average a very red month for natural gas prices. And then into autumn, we might expect a strong rally on the charts, which, as you see, kind of coincides with these generally strong months for natural gas prices, which are September and October, which on average over the last few decades have given anywhere around 8 to 10% gains. Before we continue, let me remind you guys to subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and click that bell notification. Thanks a lot. Next, let's move on to the commitment of traders reports. And to be honest, here it's a little bit muddled up at the moment. So the red line is, of course, the commercials, which are generally called the smart money. A peak in commercials is accumulation over here. It's, well, relatively close enough to this low in early 2020. Since then, as the rally continues near the peak over here in late 2020, the commercials are in negative net positions, which of course is profitable near the peak. But at the moment, over the last several weeks, over the last few months perhaps even, the changes in positions of commercials, the red line, have been relatively small. The red line, as you see over here, is close to flat lining. So it's hard to read the story of the COT reports right now. Similarly with the green line, the greens are dumping over here as the price is approaching the bottom over here. That's in early 2020. And they're loading up to their highest positions over the last several years. That's the green line is, of course, for speculators. They have their highest positions over here. That's actually more or less close to the price peaks, which is not very smart in my opinion. And since then they have dropped, but the changes haven't really been very significant over the last few months. So again, hard to read much from these COT reports. Perhaps that means that this rally since early April still has some legs as price continues higher, perhaps give us a new high compared to mid-May. Maybe that's when the commercial positions would drop a little bit to give us an interesting sign there. Next, let's move on to the Optimism Index, a very important indicator in my opinion. And if you zoom out over the last several years, usually a nice buying opportunity or usually a cycle low generally takes place when this Optimism Index is very, very low, near 30s. That's near this green line over here. But as I've mentioned about coffee in my recent video, over the last couple of years, especially in late 2020 and this year in 2021, the cycle lows didn't actually bring this Optimism Index all the way down to the green line. More recently, it seems that a nice buying opportunity actually takes place when this Optimism Index is in high 30s rather than high 20s. That's one other reason why I didn't actually catch this cycle low back in early April. But at the moment though, even with a bit of a cool down in price over the last few days, still the optimism is still pretty high and you possibly want to wait and see what happens. Perhaps a safer buying opportunity will take place when people don't really want anything to do with natural gas. That's when this optimism level is somewhere below 40. So that's my view on natural gas. If you like this sort of analysis, you're going to do a couple of things. Firstly, consider joining us at myfinancesteacher.org, because once my account is operational, most of this sort of analysis will be limited for members only. And secondly, subscribe to the YouTube channel, share this video with your friends, and remember to hit that like button. If you'd like a temporary free membership at myfinancesteacher.org, send me your email through this contact link, and I'll create a free membership for you manually into early June. That's because my PayPal account is facing some difficulties right now. I think it's going to be resolved perhaps in a couple of weeks. For now, I wish you a wonderful day and good luck in your trades.